Basically, this... What's going on, everybody? So a question that I constantly see asked all over the internet, not necessarily to me, is how do I find my art style? These are, one of these basic questions that gets asked all the time. And I'm going to talk about that today and hopefully help you guys out a little bit in terms of how you find that style or how you develop that style over time. Stylization and developing what you deem to be your art style, it's going to take a while. It doesn't happen overnight. It's going to be constant work at it. So first thing, really quickly, let's go over what stylization kind of is to an extent. And I would say, in the easiest way of saying it, it's simplification. You're taking something that's real or has the ability to be real, you're simplifying elements of it and you're stylizing elements of it, kind of go hand in hand, but it keeps that, general shape, general idea so that a person viewing it knows what it is, but can see that it's not exactly a realistic rendering. Now, how do you find your style? Well, it's going to be different for everybody, but I would say the first place to start with is to find artists that you love and study their work. Does this mean copy them? Not exactly, but I wouldn't say don't copy them either. I would say copy elements of what they do and what you think is really good, like what you think this artist does a really good job at. Take elements of that and put it into your own work, and that is how you develop a style over time, right? You pick from these different artists, you kind of pick and choose, and you put it into your own pieces, and then boom, after you've done this big whole collage, you have your own style. I'm going to go over my own work and where I drew my inspirations from, and then kind of discuss with you the things that I picked and choose from these specific artists that I find amazing, and then hopefully, it'll kind of give you an idea of what to be looking for or what to do when trying to find your own style in your own work. So let's flip around my camera here, and I will show you guys this collage that I have here. Basically, this collage that I have here is a nice little list of 5 different artists or 5 different styles that I love. Now, what I'm going to show you guys real quick, I'm going to kind of talk about the things and elements that I took from each one of these artists and explain them a little bit better. For example, these 3 is a person called Sam Does Arts. These ones, 1, 2, 3. He's very big. A lot of people know who he is, and I gotta be honest, I love him. He is somebody who's been a massive inspiration for me, and I've actually learned a lot of my own techniques for digital painting from him. And a lot of the techniques that I probably will show in some of my tutorials in the future are from him. Something that I love that he does in terms of his art is how he does his lips. And one thing that I really love about them is and I can zoom in here and maybe even show you on this specific one, but I love how he brings in a bunch of different colors. So you can see how there's a lot of different colors in these specific lips that he chose for this character. A lot of different colors, right? As well as hard highlights, but I also love how smooth they are on the outside. There's no extra lines there that you'll often see in comic book art, which I love, but as in real life, a person isn't gonna put, most women, most males, obviously, of course males, but most women aren't gonna put a liner under their lips so it has an outline to them, right? So it doesn't look very natural in a painting. So one thing that I took from him is how he kind of blurs that and makes it a little bit more soft. That's one of the main things I took from Sam Does Arts. Now, if we look at these other two, these two right here are from an artist named J. Scott Campbell. Oh gosh, I can't spell. J. Scott. All right. These 2 artists are from a comic book cover artist named J. Scott Campbell, who is one of my favorite comic book artists of all time. What I love about him is how he draws faces, and I am pretty much solely focused on how he does his faces. And one of the things that I loved about his art specifically is how he did eyebrows. Now, they're not actually very visible in these particular images that I chose here, but you can see how I always loved how he chose to do his eyebrows with really interesting shapes. They're not just like a big block, it's not just like one big block. I really love how he kind of added different shapes. And one of the things that he does with his eyebrows that you can't see in this image, but if you look over here really quickly, he'll have an eyebrow like this, right? Let's say this is the brick for the eyebrow. If this is where the nose is, right here, he'll have some extra lines that kind of lead off that way and lead off this way. And that is one of the things that I love from his art, and I always wanted to put it in my art. So if you notice on some of my pieces, which I'll go over really quickly soon, you'll notice that I do this a lot in my art. I'll add these little extra lines going towards the nose and going towards the ears. Obviously, here we have 2 characters from Disney. I wanted to put them in because not only are they inspirations for these other 2 artists, but they're also inspirations for me. Disney does a great job at stylization, and if you want to look at how you can simplify characters and people, Disney is one of the best places you can look, right? If you take a look at some of these Disney artists, right, obviously we've got the big eyes going on here, right? Big eyes. But if you look at the noses in particular and how they do noses, I know that looks kind of funny, but if you look at how they do noses in particular, you'll notice that they tend to do it with a simple shape, right? You don't have to draw every detail of the nose for a person to realize, hey, this is a nose. And that's one of the things that I really like. I tend to look at Disney images when I'm drawing my own characters, and when I'm, doing art studies and stuff like that on my own, I tend to look at these Disney images for the noses because I really think they do a good job at stylizing them. And then this last one is Jim Lee. And for people who don't know who Jim Lee is, he's one of the best comic book artists in the business. He is fantastic. I only showed this one photo because realistically, all I really wanted to show from him is how he tends to simplify things and how he uses contrast, how he uses extremely heavy contrast to create tone, and it really gives this mood. And that's one of the things I love about his art mostly. Tons and tons of the feeling he gives off with his pieces. Now what I've got here is I've got 3 of my own pieces that I've posted on Instagram. 2 are very recent. One I did a little bit a while ago, which I'm not totally happy with. I think the newer ones are a little bit better, but I'm still going to use these as examples to show you how I've kind of applied some of those things that I just talked about into my own artwork here. So first of all, I do use Sam Does Art's brush pack, and I do love some of his stuff that he got. In my opinion, I don't know if he was doing it beforehand, but something they use heavily in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which are these things right here. I think they're called midtones or halftones. It's one of the two. On the lighting, which I really think looks cool, and I've started to use that a lot more. You'll see in all 3 of these that they all have it, but I've started to use it a little bit more subtly now, and I think those look cool. And some of the things I also do from Sam Does Arts is I also use these hatching marks in these parts on the hair and on the skin. And also, just to go clear on this, you can see what I was talking about with the J. Scott Campbell stuff, right, on the eyebrows. See how I have some of these extra ones kind of coming off the ends of the eyebrows? Yeah, that's, me pulling from J. Scott Campbell, right? Let's look at this middle piece. I think a lot of this middle piece was a little bit early on for me, so this is a little bit of a while ago, but there's a lot of Sam Does Arts here in terms of how I was doing the environments and stuff, but there's a lot of line work here going on that I would say, again, screams J. Scott Campbell to me. He was always the first person that I was influenced by in terms of drawing, and especially drawing women. So you can see how that's really big. You can see how this nose here, what I was going to say is how I drew the nose. It's very J. Scott Campbell. It kind of screams how he does his style. And I was still kind of, doing a little bit of the line work on the lips and stuff back here. Again, a ton of this I would say looks more comic book. I would say this looks more comic book and more J. Scott Campbell than anything else. Now we'll go over to this right one, which I actually have a process video up on my channel of it if you want. I have a process video up on my channel of it if you want to see it or not. But on this one, you can kind of see, really, I think this is probably my best one in terms of showing my Disney inspiration with these eyes. I just drew them very big, very rounded too, and I feel like it screams Disney, and I use Disney a lot as inspiration for this art study. Obviously, all 3 of these were from reference photos, so they're not from my brain. I want to be clear about that. There's nothing wrong with using reference photos. If you think there is, I will fight you. I will come to your house and I will. Again, there's a lot of Sam Does Arts going on here, like a lot of Sam Does Arts in terms of like the rendering and some of those stylization. Again, more of those Spider-Verse sort of halftones going on here. But I also wanted to point out once again my line work in the eyebrows. This is really J. Scott Campbell. That's where I got it from. Does Sam Does Arts do it? Maybe. I really haven't noticed it much in his art, but the line work in the eyebrows is something I try to do all the time just to give it a little bit of added detail, and I love it, and that is something J. Scott Campbell does all the time, and I wanted to keep a mind on that. There's a friggin' fly. But anyway, basically I showed you these 3 of my own pieces just to kind of show off an example of how I've taken some of those things from those different artists and applied them to my own art to create what I would think is my own kind of style here. I have always been one to wear my inspirations on my sleeve, and I don't think there's really anything wrong with that. I truly think, as long as you're giving credit to these guys that you are inspired by and you're not ripping them off entirely, I think it's okay. But anyway, enough about me. The whole point of me showing you this is how you create your own style and how you find your style Whether it's whatever medium it is, this is how you do it. You study artists that you love, right? You implement some of the things you love about their art into your own art, right? And then your style will come. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this little deep dive video. I loved making it. It was really fun, and it was really interesting to go over some of these different art pieces. And if you guys like the content here and you like this video, please click a like and subscribe to see more. And I'm going to be uploading more once a week, whether it's a process video, a video like this, or even a tutorial video, which I will be having one coming up next week. So stay tuned to that. It's going to be a surprise what that tutorial video is of, but stay tuned. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys liked the video, and I can't wait to see you guys soon. Keep on drawing. See you guys later. Peace.